All right, with the kids now back at school, staying healthy is just as important as hitting the books. From boosting immunity to managing stress, there are key things parents can do to set their children up for success. This morning, we're joined by Dr. Michael Glazer from Bluebird Kids Health. Good morning.
Yeah.
Good
Lots
morning.
of questions for you. I got three little ones, and I'm just going to go down the list here. I guess, what are some of the biggest health challenges that the kids face this time of year? We're now in week 3, and this is when things start to get active.
Yeah, so first, let me just pause and say congratulations to all those parents for getting their kids off on August 11th.
Yeah.
You know,
A round of applause for all.
Thank
and
you,
the
thank you.
teachers.
Yeah,
Thank
you know,
Teachers,
yeah,
too.
and the
Yes.
teachers, despite
Yes.
the predictability,
Yeah.
we know August 11th is coming around each year. There's always a degree of chaos in my family and probably most families. Do I have the right school forms? Do I have the right backpack? Do I have the right school supplies? So congratulations on getting them.
Yeah.
You know, now that we're a couple weeks in, our kids have been learning. You know, and there's formal learning in school. Little kids are learning addition, older kids are learning calculus, and then there's informal learning. And how's that informal learning work? Well, it's through sharing. You know, kids share stories, they share experiences, they share thoughts,
And
they
germs.
share jokes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so we're starting to hit that point a couple weeks into school where they've been sharing. And so we're starting to see an uptick in viral illnesses that they're spreading amongst themselves and also to families at home.
Is there anything that you're seeing rampant right now? I know we're easing back into the school,
Yeah.
but is there anything that's kind of spreading?
Thankfully, no, not yet. You know, things inevitably trickle down as the school year progresses. But I will say there are things that we can encourage to help keep our kids healthy. And one of the most important things is sleep. And in order to get enough sleep, we need routine. From toddlers to teenagers, kids benefit from routine. They'll never tell you that. Maybe they don't conscientiously realize that, but probably we do too. And part of that routine is sleep. So a child less than 5 who's not quite in kindergarten, who's in preschool, really needs about 10 to 12 hours of sleep. School-age kids need about 10, and then adolescents need 8 to 10. And we as parents need to help remind them and keep a routine in the house and say, this is important. You know, sleep is important because, we learn better.
Right.
Our attention, our focus is there. But the truth is, it's regenerative and it helps our immune system. So we're actually better apt to fight colds and flus and stuff if we're well slept.
We could all take note of that.
Absolutely.
All kids of all ages, right?
When we work this shift, exactly, we need more sleep, right? So tell me about this. When it comes to parents, because we were just talking about this in the break, of course, inevitably the kids come home and they bring it to the parents. You work in kids' faces all day long who are sick. How do you stay healthy?
Yeah, well, we do talk that sharing is caring, and kids do share germs with us. And there's a little bit, every little thing that we're exposed to builds our immune system. And so we're not going to prevent everything. We're going to get hit with these viruses, and the best thing we can do is prepare for ourselves. And obviously for our own health, but modeling for our kids. So it's the good sleep, but it's also other good habits. You've got to balance your day with exercise. Physical activity actually boosters your immune system too. Time outside of here, outside in the greenery, being outside actually has been shown to boost your immune system. And there's good hygiene.
Absolutely.
Washing those hands.
Yeah.
What would you say? I think I would say the world kind of changed post-COVID. A lot of people would send their kids to school even with some slight symptoms early on. And I know we're getting back to a new normal of sorts, but what should you stay home with? If your kids are saying, hey, I don't feel so great this morning, when do you say, hey, go at least figure it out at school, I'll pick you up if I need to, or do you say, you got to stay home today?
Thank you for bringing that up, because if your child has a fever, if your child, does not look well in the morning and is going to need that extra TLC, that's a time they should stay at home. We generally use fever as a barometer in terms of anything over 100.4, you really shouldn't be going to school. And that's a fever without the use of Tylenol and ibuprofen. The other part of it is, again, kids are busy, they're interacting at school. If they are sick, they're going to expend more energy and they're not going to get that rest they need to recover more quickly. So for the good of our own children, we should be keeping them home if they have a fever, but also for the good of the other kids too, to help prevent the spread.
Yeah, since COVID, obviously 2020, there's been a lot of debate over vaccines, but at the same time, pediatricians are always saying, hey, look, vaccination in the winter months especially is really a good thing for our kids.
Yeah, absolutely. As a pediatrician and a parent, I'm a proponent of vaccination. I recommend the American Academy of Pediatrics vaccine schedule. Vaccines are one of the incredible innovations in healthcare, and they're not new. They've been around since 1796. I think in this day and age, post-COVID, there are a lot of questions, and it's absolutely okay to question. It's okay to be hesitant. My advice to parents is medicine is a shared decision-making process. If you have questions, bring them up with your pediatrician. You know, come to me for medical advice. I'm not a lawyer, don't come to me for legal advice, and the converse is true.
Right.
So when should people start having that conversation? I've noticed I've started to get the text from CVS, hey, heads up, you know, flu season's around the corner, and it does take a couple weeks for immunity to build. So when should you start thinking about getting that flu shot?
So my general advice is when it's available, get it. There's a little bit of debate over whether waiting till later in the season is more beneficial. But again, we started this conversation with the chaos that we all have in our homes. I think any opportunity to get it is the right opportunity, and just check that box.
Okay.
Dr. Michael Glazier with Bluebird Kids.
Thanks for coming
so,
in.
So we can get a hold of you. There's several Bluebirds kids in the area. Is that correct?
Yeah. So we actually are established right now. We have 3 practices in Palm Beach County. We have one in Jacksonville. We're opening another in a month, and we have one opening next week in Broward County.
Oh, great!
And
Congratulations.
we hope to soon come here. Thank you.
I was going to say we'll roll out the welcome mat for you
Yeah,
guys. if you want to come here.
absolutely. I think, you know, we're excited to take care of kids, and our philosophy is, you know, it's whole child health. So we work with germs, and we work with vaccinations, and we work with physicals, but we also pay attention to emotional and psychological health too.
Yeah, which is another big proponent here too, easing kids back in with anxiety around school.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for coming in
Thank
this
you.
morning.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate
Appreciate
it. Good
I got some of this up in my head.
Yeah, taking notes over here.
Taking notes, definitely. Parent notes over here. All right, let's send it over now to meteorologist Courtney Jacobazzi talking about this weather.